Since Jesus came into my heart, the control of my soul I receive His cross. Since Jesus came into my heart. Amen. You can be seated and turn the page. Let's just go to the next page over 196. Technically 2 pages. You have to turn 1 page.
But if you do common core math, you know common core math?
I have no clue. Yeah. I've heard about it.
I'll teach you.
I've never even tried to understand it. Either the first, the second, and the last. I sing the story of the Christ who died for me. Now He left His holy glory on the cross of Calvary. Yes, I sing the wondrous story of the Christ who died for me. Sing the praises and glory, everybody will sing. I was lost, but Jesus found me, and the sheep that went astray. There is nothing good to find me, turning back into His way. Yes, I'll sing the wondrous story of the Christ who died for me. Sing the praises and glory, and the brothers will sing. He will keep me till the river of His waters at my feet. There will never sit me over, where the waters shall be. Yes, I'll sing the wondrous story of the Christ who died for me. Sing the praises and glory, and the brothers will sing. So Wednesday night, Brother John told me ahead of time that he needed me to lead singing, right? So we get here 2 minutes after. You guys are already done with the first song. Man. All right, so we get here 5 minutes early this morning. Yeah. And at 10:03, Pastor Bates still hadn't walked in.
So you don't know. I did, and I actually,
So
I didn't
the
know
lesson
John.
is,
I didn't know John texted you. I texted you and Joseph. But I said, there's a mix out there we can do.
So I guess the lesson is, if you always show up 5 minutes early, then Pastor will always be 3 minutes late.
Okay,
Let's do 208. Grace greater than our sin. 208. We'll do the first, the second, the last. Marvelous grace of our loving Lord, grace that exceeds our sin and our guilt. Yonder on Calvary.
song right there. It's really grace, grace. No matter how much you sin, there's enough grace. So don't forget that. Always come to Jesus, right? A lot of birthdays have happened, already happened, and are going to happen this month. And so Hadley turned 6 this month on the 17th. No, you turned 7. Oh, 8. Yeah. Well, I haven't gotten some of my kids' ages wrong before, right? So Hadley, that was on Wednesday, but she was in yellow. So trust me, she didn't suffer. She had a pretty good birthday.
So she doesn't get a birthday if she wasn't here.
Yeah, that's right. So we're actually still 7. We're still 7. She's our only kid born in Arkansas, really, I guess. Is that true? The rest of the kids are Texas kids. So I guess I should like you best to be one in Arkansas. Right? Yes, she agreed with that. Brother Glenn had a birthday, turning 29. Aiden, wait, what is today's date? So it's tomorrow's your birthday. Yeah. Did he tell you that he wanted to make a cake for you? Oh, yeah, but it wasn't very nice. I said we should. It wasn't a very nice cake. Yeah. All right, so you just have to ask him not to confess his sins, right? And then Miss Ruth's birthday is coming up. She'll also be 29 on May 26th, right? And Brother Matt, I don't know, I guess he probably could say his normal age, right? I don't know, but he's going to have a birthday on the 28th. And Ainsley's got a birthday on the 28th also. So then you got anniversaries. And so, wait, today is Paul Christmas. Is that right, today?
We forgot.
No, I'm looking at you like, what? Today? Really, Paul's going to buy you some lunch.
I'm not surprised that he didn't remember, but I'm surprised that I
He probably remembered. He probably ordered flour.
Yeah. He's feeling surprised that you didn't remember.
Yeah, we're talking about all this, and then they're like, "Oh, that's our anniversary." Yeah, don't worry, I'll probably do that. Me and Ruth's anniversary is on the 30th, and so I'll probably forget that. Yeah, I'll have to remember that. Jason Brittany on the 31st. I do want to remind you, church camp is June 5th through the 9th, and so that's coming up really soon. I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoyed having the Rotzel family here, and he's doing okay after his appendicitis, so just continue to pray for our missionaries. But church camp, I tell you what, it's always exciting. We'll start talking and seeing who's definitely getting to come, get all that set up, and I'll bring some of the forms in here pretty soon. I might have some tonight, but definitely by next Sunday, any of the forms you need to fill out. I do not know if they added any new stuff this year. In the last year, they added, the zip line, and so they're just kind of testing out. Last year, it did pretty good, but some kids got stuck on it about halfway, 30 foot in the air. So the key to that is you need to be overweight. Okay, the kids that got stuck on it were little kids. All right, so if you're already overweight, don't worry about it. You'll go all the way down, no problem. But I think one time though, somebody had to put their rope on there wrong.
Yeah, that's what actually.
And it got stuck on, it wouldn't. And so, like, Luke had to go out there and get him, so he had to go out there. And so, I personally have never went on it and probably never will. So, it's not, why would I do it? It's not going to be fun, right? It's like if I had to save somebody, maybe I'd go on it or something like that. But
If you're too overweight, it'll sag.
yeah, it'll sag, then you'll be stuck.
That way.
And I'm telling you, I'm not like super scared of heights, but I'm scared enough not to go on that. Cody probably won't go on it either, so he doesn't like heights too much. But zip line's a little different than being on a roof, right? But it could. If I did it, and it was fun, I'd do it again. But I probably won't do it the first time. So, of course, there's paintball. Of course, there's swimming. That's how the guys get their clean every day. They don't go to the shower; they just swim in the very clean water with hundreds of kids in it every day. I'm sure the filter just filters out all all the rabies or whatever they preach. Yeah. And so that's kind of why it stinks in our cabin. But and then of course your activities. He was doing setups for a while. He stopped. You have to do a few more weeks of that, trying to get ready. He likes to try. He wants to beat the record on setups. But some of the guys have some weightlifting stuff they do. And of course, there's always good games and good fun stuff, but also just really good preaching. I'm praying the weather will be nice, like today, this morning. Oh, that felt good. If we would do that at camp every morning, it'd be like 60, 55 degrees.
Right, yeah.
That'd be pretty nice, at least to get ready for the rest of the day. And so we'll see on that. But looking forward to that, and hope you can make it. Anybody can come and just be a part of that. So let's go ahead and let's have Brother Heath and Brother Aiden come up. They're going to take the offering. And so I hear Aiden's driving a little bit. So have you wrecked yet? You already wrecked once? You're about like me when I first did. Oh, that's right. On the side by side. Right? But did you wreck the car? No, okay. First time I went out driving, wrecked the car first thing. So you had a better record than I did. All right. And so, Brother Heath, you drove a little bit on Brother John's farm and wrecked his truck a few times, right? Yeah, so you drove your truck in the yard with no brakes, so that's pretty good. Driving with no brakes, that's pretty good. Of course, I was sitting right there ready to turn the key off at any second. On that standard, if you turn that key off, boom, it's just going to stop. So it's kind of a transmission brake, right? So, but Brother Heath, why don't you pray for the offering?
God, thank you for everybody being here, and thank you for us having a safe trip back, God, and thank you for everything gifts. God, we love you, God.
Brother John was kind of a little bit sick. I prayed for the nursing home. I did not go. I was having to catch up on mowing. But they all went over there and had a good time. But it sounds like there was a little lockdown at the nursing home with some people being sick. But I'm glad they at least let y'all go. Because, back during COVID, it was like you could see people in the nursing home. So it was really good to at least let you be in there.
They had a sign on the doors. A lot of the people had masks on, but they didn't say anything.
They didn't make you wear masks.
And when afterwards, I walked up to Miss Mary and she puts her hand out to shake my hand. I said, I don't know if we're supposed to do that. She says, well, I've had it 2 times. Hopefully, I don't get it again.
Maybe you could take your beard and end it on this side.
There you go.
Doing a homemade mask, right? But one thing we learned from COVID is that it's all in God's hands, right? And of course, it is good to clean your hands and do some things, but then, I've also heard your immune system gets better if you play in the dirt, right? And so my kids have tried it out. And it works for them pretty good. I mean, they make me sick, but that's a different kind of sick, right? And so I am thankful, that we get to go to nursing home. One thing I find out about nursing home is the people there, they just love somebody to visit. They're just like that. And sadly, I don't think enough people visit some of their family yet. And and I told this to Haley because I don't know if she's the oldest, and so I told her that if I get old, don't put me in the nursing home. Right? I said if you just put a tent in the backyard, I'll rarely bother you. I'll be okay. Right? And that's not true. I'll bother her. That's for sure. But if you put me in a nursing home, I'm going to call you all the time and bother you and call you. And I'm going to run away, I'm going to break out, I'm going to get somebody to give me some tools, and they don't have cars on the window, so I probably can just open the window and get out. But if you put me in the nursing home, I'm running away. it. That's just it. I'd rather annoy my family at their house. And I want to be a burden to them. That's how it should be. Amen? It should get to be a burden to your family when you're old. Because they're a burden to you and your kids. Alright? So it's just called reap what you sow. So it's taken away from the good fun that we can have. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I go to the nursing home, I'm going to try to get arrested. So I just want this to be clear. I don't want there to be any question about it, right? But you might be better than me. You might not do that. But I'm glad we get to go there and see them and get to be a part of their life a little bit. So but let's go ahead and we're going to dismiss for our Sunday school classes. And so as a piano player, I'm going to screw that back. Last week, the girls are still going to Baptist Christian Teachers. They are still going. Yeah, the girls are still going to class. Baptist Christian Teaching. Philippians 2:14. Everybody repeat after me. Philippians 2:14.
Philippians 2:14.
Yeah. This should be, I think, a motto for your life. Philippians 2:14. So when you get there, stand. This is like, I would love this, if you would make this a motto for your life. Philippians 2:14. It says, do all things without murmurings and disputings. Do all things without murmurings. Isn't that a good motto? Do all things without. How many are convicted already? Come to the altar. Okay. That's it. You don't even need a sermon, right? Just read the verse. It takes care of it, right? Do all. How many things? All. And you got to do stuff. You can't just hide out. It says do. Okay? So you got to do. You can't just sit at home. You said, I didn't murmur today, but you didn't do anything. Okay? So it's easy not to murmur when you do nothing. So do all things without. And what's the word without mean? It means without.
Good definition, though.
It defines itself, right? Murmuring, what does that mean?
Complaining.
Complaining, yes. And disputing is like fighting, I guess, or also complaining. And just a different way to put it. Well, let's pray. God, we love you. And God, we need help in this area in America. So definitely, we probably need help in this area in our church, probably need it in our home, probably need it everywhere we go. Lord, I pray you help. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Now, Miss Ruth's back there, she will be louder. Okay, so she's louder than Miss Patty, so yeah. Look, everybody has a reputation for something. But I hope you don't have a reputation being a complainer. So, just so you know, the live feed's not pointed back on you. So, does anybody, when you think at work, is there one person that seems to complain a lot? Can you think of that person? Raise your hand and say, I know, I got someone, I would pin that on them. They are complainers, right? Is there anybody say, I know somebody in my family who is a complainer? They seem to be a complainer, right? Does anybody say, I know somebody that looks a lot like me in the mirror that seems to complain too much, okay? And that can be true too. Like this woman went to the dentist to get her tooth taken out, to get it pulled. She asked how much it was going to cost, and he said it was going to be $75. And she's like, that's too much money. She said, $75, it takes you like a minute of work, and you get $75. He goes, well, I can drag it out longer if you want me to. Yeah, and so, people like to complain, right? The scriptures has a lot to say about this issue of complaining. They do use the word complain with some, but they like to use the word murmur. And there's other words that go well with, they mean the same thing as complaining. It's in the Bible, but, I've heard people complain in the same place. There'd be someone say it's too cold, and then somebody would say it's too hot, right? So it's just kind of like, what are you going to do? Or it rains too much, or it doesn't rain enough. I've heard people say the same thing in the same day sometimes. I'm like, how is this possible? The Bible says, do all things without murmurings and disputings. And my translation of that verse would be, just don't complain, right? Just never complain. And, I think if I told you that we shouldn't complain, you'd agree. Out loud, you'd agree. But do you practice what you preach? Okay? And the other question is it a sin to complain? Well, I guess if God says do all these things without murmuring, without complaining, probably it's a sin. He's telling you not to complain. Complaining, what is complaining? The word complain, like a complainer, one of the definitions is one who is discontented with his lot in life. In other words, they just don't like where they are in their life. They don't, whatever it is, not just physically where they are, but just where they are in their, hierarchy of life. Complaining, who thinks complaining has destroyed churches? Yes. Who thinks complaining has destroyed friendships? Yes. Who thinks complaining has destroyed marriages? Absolutely. Destroyed whole communities? Sure. Destroyed a job. Maybe someone had a job and it destroyed it. It's like, and I told this, and I love this story. It's just so funny about the monk. He goes to the monastery, took a vow of silence. After the first 10 years, they could talk every 10 years. So after the first 10 years, his superior called on him and said, "Do you have anything to say?" And the monk said, "Food bad." Okay? 10 years he hasn't talked since he says food bad. Okay? After another 10 years, they get to talk again. He asked the monk to voice his thoughts, and he said, "Bed hard." Okay? So after the first 10 years, food bad. 10 years later, bed hard. Another 10 years went by. He called in the monk, and he said, "Well, anything to say after this?" He said, "I quit." And he said, "It doesn't surprise me, all you did is complain." Okay? And so, he's been there 30 years, but all he did was complain about. And it's like this person, they went to this restaurant, and the customer got the waiter and said, "Hey, listen, could you turn the air conditioner up? It's too hot." And then later, they called him over and said, now it's too cold. And it's just really getting too cold and everything, and just, complaining. And surprisingly, the waiter was very patient, never said anything bad, just, So finally, the second customer said, how did you put up with that person? Said, "Oh, it's easy. We don't even have an air conditioner." Okay? And so, it's like, one man said, "For the past 20 years, my wife's been complaining about me not putting the cap back on the toothpaste. So I decided to change my bad habit, and I made it just, every time I use the toothpaste, I put the cap back on." She never mentioned it. I expected her to mention it. This went on for a long time, for years. She never mentioned that I changed my bad habit and I was putting the cap on. I was waiting to see if she would congratulate me for doing a good job, And one night she finally turned to me and said, "I got to ask you a question." And I said, "Yes, honey?" And she said, "Why did you stop brushing your teeth?" Yeah. And so she never believed that it would just actually change and do something better, right? And, seriously, if I gave a badge that says complainer, and I said, "I'm going to give everybody one of these badges. You go put it on the person you think is the biggest complainer." All right? Would that go on you? Right? Or in your family, like if you have that complaint, who's the biggest complainer in your family? But we talked about work, we talked about that stuff, but the truth is, I hope that you would not be someone who had a lot of badges on, right? And because you don't want to be known for complaining. I know people like that. I mow some yards for some people like that. I know some people, and it's almost a joke. We're like, "Hey, let's go see what they're going to complain about today," right? And there's some people, I'll go low for it. Every time we talk, some of them we only see every 2 weeks. They say the same thing every time. And what is it? It's usually a complaint about something, right? And it may not be about even what we're doing. It may just be about some general thing, maybe something I have no clue about, somebody I don't even know, but they just seem to be on repeat of complaining. Kathleen Parker in this one paper in Orlando said It's much easier to fix blame than to fix problems, right? And we really do. I mean, people are always complaining about the country. You know, you could ask them, oh, you don't like how the country's going, and they'll tell you what's wrong with it and everything. But you can turn, I mean, Christians do this all the time. And I'll say, so how many times this week did you pray for those things, for our country? Well, you know, you can tell immediately they prayed 0. But they were complaining about it all the time. Well, what are you doing to fix the problem? I'm complaining. That's what I'm doing. Right? Well, the complaining is not fixing the problem. You understand that, right? For instance, if you have a problem with something that's, you know, in our government, there's processes you can go through that might actually help. Right? You can get a petition signed. You can go talk to your legislators. You can make appointments with them. They're available, right? If you want to go meet with many of our representatives or something like that, you can call their office, make an appointment, go see them, give them your complaint in writing. You can do that. You know, but nobody ever does that. They always just complain to a bunch. Like if you complain to me about some political thing, what do you actually think I'm going to do to fix it? Like, why are you telling me? Well, I've even said that to somebody before. They're complaining about something, and I'll say, well, what would you like me to do about it? And it's like, well, I don't think you can do anything about it. I said, okay, well, then quit telling me about it. I don't know why you're telling me about it. I can't do anything about it. You went to the wrong person. But people, they're always complaining. And so, what did you complain about already this morning? You know, the person driving too slow in front of you on the way to church, right? Was it the temperature of your coffee? Was it not hot enough? Too hot? Was this room in here too cold or too hot when you came in? Probably it is right now. I don't know. One of the others. Was it your kids you complained about? Was it your spouse? Was it who was it? Complaining in America is almost as popular as apple pie, right? I mean, it's just something we do. Who thinks Americans complain too much? Yeah. I mean, it's everywhere. It's just complaining. Rah, 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 this is stupid. I don't like this. Rah. You know, you just hear it all the time. And just like, man, this is really making life pleasant. All these people murmuring. So, I mean, just think about talk radio. All right? Talk radio is just complaining. That's all talk radio is. Talk radio. Okay, today we're going to tell you how everybody's horrible. And why they're horrible and why they're always going to be horrible. And it's just a bunch of complaining is what it simply is. And so we got to be careful about that. And I like this motto. Don't complain about it unless you're going to do something about it. Don't complain about it unless you're going to do something about it. In other words, make an effort. Right? Make an effort to do something about it, make a change or whatever it is. And if you're not going to do anything about it, and not to be mean or say it mean, I just want you to understand, then you should just shut up. Okay? I know that sounds mean, but I would say be quiet, but you got the picture on be quiet, so just shut up. Nobody wants to hear it. And you know what I found out is that people, if you tell them to shut up about complaining, they'll find somebody else to complain to. It'd be better if they just stopped complaining. That's what it'd be. So why is this so serious? Well, in Numbers chapter 21, verses 4 and 6, it says, And the people spake against God and against Moses, Wherefore have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loatheth this light bread. So they complain against God and against Moses. And listen, there's people today, I mean, we see people today that will complain against God. You know, it's like, why did God do this? And why did God do that? Why did God do all these things? And I want to make a statement that, I heard somebody, one time they told me, said, well, God has murdered a lot of people. That's what they told me. They said, read the Bible. God killed a lot of people. I said, it's not murder when you're the one who owns it. Does that make sense? Like if I own a cow, can I kill it? It's my cow. I have a right to kill it. If you kill it, it's murder. But if I kill it, it's whatever I want to do. It's mine. God owns everything. He can kill it if he wants to. Right? If God decided it was your time to go out now, it's not wrong for him to decide that. That's, hey, you're bought with a price, right? You're not your own. You are owned by God. So it's not wrong for God. So don't call it murder. It's just called a decision, right? And I mean, we act like, and here's what happens is people get so caught up that they get so big into complaining, they start thinking that everything is bad. Like someone, okay, so a construction worker rips them off. Now all construction workers are bad. Right? So a preacher lies to him, so now all preachers are liars. So like a man does something, so I hate men and all men are bad. But that's simply not true. Are all preachers bad? No. Are all men bad? No. Are all women bad? No. All right? And if you get to thinking that way, like let's say you have someone paint for you and they do a bad job, right? And you say, well, all painters are bad. No, not all painters are bad. That painter is bad. But not all painters are bad. It's not this guy who's a house painter and he would thin the paint with water to save some money, right? It's easy to paint, but then when it rained, it just came off, right? And so his boss came to him and said, repent and thin no more. Okay, anyway, so that's supposed to be a joke, right? But here's what it comes down to is you've got to realize that just because one person does something, it doesn't make a group of people bad. And, a lot of people use that excuse for church. Oh, all churches are the same, all preachers are the same, all blah, 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 blah. And it's just not true. It's absolutely false. It's not true at all. I've been to a lot of different churches. They're all different, in fact, every church, there's probably no two churches that are the same because there's different people. So it's always going to be different. But to sit there and do that, like I hate all police officers. Well, not all police officers are bad, right? Are there some bad police officers? Sure. But is that every police officer? No. Or, hey, I don't like all politicians. And listen, you're not going to believe this, but some politicians are good, okay? They're better than you think. Or maybe you're giving them a bum rap just because, even with teachers, right? Our public school has some issues, but not all teachers are bad, right? And so don't loop and lump it up and say that's how it is. Here's one thing about a complainer. Number one, here's some facts about a complainer. Number one, they will find something to complain about. Number two, they will complain about it. Okay? That's a complaint. And I don't like people like that. My parents didn't teach me to be a person like that. I'm thankful for that my parents were, the door just magically opened. Okay. Welcome, Casper. No. Okay. And, that's what my mom always says that Casper did it whenever nobody would admit to doing wrong, And so I was just like, hey, I like this Casper guy because I can blame him for everything. Right? But I want to tell you something that it is sad. I've known some people and it's kind of like, no matter how good life is, they find something wrong. They can have a good house, they have food every day, they have all these things, and they always find something wrong. Like, this is not correct, or this is not right, this is not right. How many of you have ever received a chain letter? Right? You know what a chain letter is? They used to send them in the mail, but then now they do like chain emails, right? And, they're just tricks, right? That's all they are. But here's one that you might like. This chain letter is meant to bring you happiness and joy. Unlike other chain letters, it does not cost money. You just send a copy of this letter to 6 other churches that are complaining about their pastors. Then bundle up your pastor and send him to the church at the bottom of the list. In 1 week, you will receive 16,436 pastors, and one of them should work out. Have faith in this letter. P.S. I must warn you, one church broke the chain and got their old pastor back. Okay, and so, but the truth is we always find something to complain about. There are many unhappy people in the world, but it's sad that it just seems like even people in church are unhappy. And if anybody should be happy, it'd be people that are saved. Right? If you're saved, why would you be unhappy? I mean, you're going to heaven when you die. Let me ask you something. Suppose you drove up to a restaurant with your family. And as you were going in, people were in the parking lot throwing up. They just left the building. And they were just throwing up. And as they walked out, they were throwing up. How many of y'all would still go into the restaurant? Probably not. And that's exactly what a complainer looks like in a church. It's just like, hey, who needs Jesus, right? If Jesus can't stop you from complaining and being unhappy, then who needs him? The truth is, he can if you focus on him and you let him run your life. But, you know, I'm preaching this sermon because we all need to hear this every once in a while, right? And I want to just look at a few things and we'll be done. Just kind of, you know, we talked about complaining, but, you know, people sometimes will even complain about somebody getting saved. Can you imagine that, right? It doesn't even make any sense. So let me give you some people that complain. Maybe you have witnessed this or maybe you're involved in this. One is what we call like the perfectionists. The perfectionists, they think everything has to be a certain way. Now I gotta tell you, it's impossible for it to be that way. First off, because everybody's thought on what is perfect is different. All right. So if you have that mindset, you're going to be a complainer your whole life. Well, I'm just a perfectionist. I'll see some people like I'm fixing a piece truck. I'm not going to be a perfectionist on it. I mean, I'm going to do the best I can. But my goal is to drive it and it work and it be going. Now, if I was a perfectionist, it would cost me about $150,000 to be exactly what I want it to be. I know what perfect looks like on a truck like that. I also know what perfect costs. And I don't know if it's worth that perfect, right? But what's better? We get on the road and we drive it, or we let it sit and rot for 30 more years to where it is of no use. There's some people that'll do that. They will let everything rot around them because they said, well, I want it to be perfect, but it's not going to be perfect. Your family's never going to be exactly perfect. You're going to mess up next week. And you know why we know this is going to be perfect? Because God sent his only son because things aren't perfect. There's sin everywhere. And you're going to have to forgive some stuff. And you're going to have to get over some stuff. How many of y'all just know some perfectionists and it's like nothing pleases them? It's not clean enough. It doesn't smell good enough. It doesn't look good enough. And you secretly hate those people. Okay? Don't be one of those people, right? Don't be one of those people. Realize that sometimes you just got to say, hey, yeah, that looks good. Right? Instead of looking at it and go, well, you could have done that a little better. That's a little off. And just, why? You're not going to fix it, are you? No, you're just going to complain about it. And we need less people like that because it's messing. When a person lives each day, God gives them and just says, hey, I'm going to take advantage of it, and I'm going to try to enjoy it, and I'm going to try to do my best for the Lord. Isn't that good? Isn't that enough? But no, you act like, see, in America, it's so funny. Because even a poor person living in the worst of houses in America still has it better than many, many millions of people across our world. Yet we complain. You got plumbing in your house? A lot of people don't. You have drinking water that actually, you say, well, our drinking water has chemicals and there's something wrong. Yeah, they don't even have it in their house. Right? In Belize, they don't have sinks in their house. They have an outhouse. They have a bucket on their roof and they get everything from the creek. But get this, they also don't have antidepressants in Belize. They're living out in villages. They have no running water, no electricity, but they don't have to take pills to be happy. Some of them have 12 kids and do a better job than we do with one kid. All right? But guess what? They're not perfectionists because they live in a house like on Gilligan's Island. They got to redo the roof every year. All their furniture is hammocks that they made. And you know what? It's not perfect. Right? Their floor's pretty dirty because it's made of dirt. Yeah, I'm just saying. It's not perfect. Right? But yet, you'll go into a church, people will be praying at the altar, people will be packed in, they walked to get there, they walked home even on a Sunday night, they walk in the dark to get home, there's no street lights, there's no electricity, and they're just happy to be at church. It's funny because even the guys sit on one side and the girls sit on the other side. That's what makes life happy. Get away from the women. No, I'm just saying. They just, I didn't hear a lot of complaining. None of them have vehicles. None of them, have electricity. None of them have running water. But they're pretty happy. This perfectionist thing leads to a lot of issues. Right? It's like when you just finally let go and say, God, you know what? I'm just going to thank you for what I got. And it's okay if my wife's not perfect. It's okay. My husband's not perfect. My kids aren't perfect. Because perfect is something you made up in your head that doesn't exist. You don't even know what you're talking about. But then you've got that's that perfectionist that complains. But then you've got that pessimist, right? Where everything's bad, right? All policemen are crooked. All politicians are crooked. All churches are filled with hypocrites. By the way, that's true. All churches are full of hypocrites. Everybody's a hypocrite. Everybody who says anything goes against what they say at some point. You should do it this way. And you're like, you didn't do it that way. Don't your kids like to do that to you? My kids, I don't allow them to say stupid, but I say it. And I said, well, that's because I have to have a word to describe you. No, but I don't want them to use the word stupid. They're going, Dad, what you say? I said, when you're dad, you can say stupid. Okay? I just don't like it because it sounds bad sometimes, right? It's not like I'm using it just all the time for everything, but as a kid sometimes, my main thing is I don't want you to go to another kid and go, you're stupid. Right? That's kind of not a good way to start a conversation. But some people, they think everything's bad. All of this is bad, and they make a blanket statement, and, everything is unfair, but not everything is unfair. Right? Yeah, listen, you need to question everything's unfair. Okay, name everything that's unfair. Tell me why it's unfair. Write me a paper on this. I want some facts here. Could you do some research? Come on. You just blanket tell me that everybody's bad and all this is bad and all this stuff. You're just telling me a lie. It's not true. You have no way to back it up. Paul wrote to the church of Thessalonians, and he said, and we beseech you, brethren, to know that which labor among you, and are over you in the Lord, and admonish you and esteem them very highly in love for their work's sake. And so he's talking about basically the pastor of the church there, and saying that, hey, they're doing something, so love them for their work's sake, for what they're doing for God, right? And he didn't say they were perfect. Of course they messed up. And I'm going to tell you, that could go for a lot of things. But, he's just saying, esteem them highly for their work's sake. Sometimes you just need to step back and realize, for instance, we'll esteem our grandparents highly, right? Just because they're our grandparents. That doesn't mean they're perfect, right? They can mess up too. But it's like, but they're my grandma, right? So my grandma can't be bad, right? My grandma doesn't do anything wrong. That's just kind of the mentality we got. Even if they do stuff wrong and all that, we kind of esteem them highly, right? And then you got someone who's always skeptical of everything. The conspiracy theorists, the flat earthers, like Joe. No, anyways, he's not really a flat earther, but he likes to argue and just, and I tried to show him on the map back there of America. If the earth was flat, that means when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, they had to fly all the way across the world to actually get to Hawaii. Because if the earth was flat, they couldn't get there, they weren't right beside, right? And so anyways, he said, well, they just went out of space, right? I don't know if that's a good thing. Then you got people that show the moon landing is fake. Who cares? The moon landing has done nothing for me in my life. Really hasn't. I'm not sure that it's ever affected any decision I've ever made. Should I buy that moon pie? I don't know, the moon landing was fake. Okay. No, it doesn't. I still buy the moon pie. Okay. I'm just saying. Right? I'm just saying, what does it matter, right? Who cares, right? People will come up with these things, they'll be following around, is it Neil Armstrong, the one that was still alive? They'll be following around, did you fake the moon landing? He actually punched a guy in the face for asking him that. And I was like, now that's a good response. I guess not. No, I don't know, but I'm just saying, Just don't ask them. Okay, that's the point. Who cares? But we got these conspiracy theories. Well, and here's what they'll do. If you listen to them long enough, they just start making up stuff. Well, here's what I think. And then they start telling you the motives of every person involved. And this is why this person's doing this. And they're doing, I know they're doing this. This is the same person who doesn't even know what they're doing. Right? This same person who can't even get their life together. Right? They'll tell you why somebody else's marriage stinks, while you're looking at them and go, your marriage stinks. Right? But they know all about everybody else's marriage. They know all about let me tell you how my job could do better. If my boss did this, it would be better. Blah, blah, blah. If you were the boss, the company would go under. Come on. But but they always have that conspiracy. They always know the motives. They know things even God doesn't know. Okay? Somehow. Be careful about that conspiracy theory. So I've met people like this. Somebody would come up and they'll go, I know why they're doing that. Well, why is that? And then they'll just come up with this harebrained, ridiculous thing and tell you, you're just like, you need to lay off the medication. Okay? Something's wrong. What are you talking about? You're just making this stuff up. People do it all the time. And be careful of them. Just step back. I mean, you remember Peter? Like, Jesus come up to him, and now when he left speaking, said to Simon, launch out the deep and let down the nets for a draught. And Simon answered and said to him, Master, we have toiled all night and have taken nothing. And so he was just skeptical that it was going to work. God told him to do something. He said, we've been fishing all night, we haven't caught a thing, right? So anyways, but he did stop doubting, and he said, nevertheless, at thy word, I'll let down the net. He let down the net, and God gave him all those fish. Because he finally just said, you know what? I just need to believe. We got some people, it's like, well, here's why I don't go to church. And then they start naming all these stuff. They watch TikTok videos, and they watch YouTube. And you know what? Here's TikTok videos. You know why people make them? To make money. Money. Come on. That's why they do them. They're making them for everybody to watch them so they can get advertising, so they can make money. They say whatever they need to say to get the money. That's why they're doing it. That's the YouTube videos. It's about views, right? They're trying to get people to watch it so they get some advertising and they get some money. They're going to say whatever they want to say. Don't just believe it because they made a cool video. Come on, that's stupid, right? And I mean, but people they just don't get it, right? You'll see videos, like I've seen, people fall for these tricks. People, will put out these videos and they'll say, if you do this, it'll work. It's actually not true. And people will try it, won't they? They'll just try it left and right because it was on a video. Says, I don't believe my preacher because, he actually knows me and knows how wicked and rotten I am. I don't believe that guy. But I believe this guy lives in California doing a YouTube video. But that guy doesn't even know you. And, maybe somebody knew you would actually understand you a little better. And what I'm telling you is, sometimes you'll just doubt that if you do it, it will be any good. And Jesus said, just put the net out. Put it out. Right? But these skeptical people are just walking around with conspiracy theories. And then you've got these, one reason people actually start to murmur, complain, or whatever it is simply for this. In Mark 15:10, for he knew that the chief priests had delivered him for envy, jealousy, envy. Jealous and envious people are complainers. Because here's what they do. They don't want anybody to think that anybody else is better than them. So, if any good thing said about someone, they have to say something bad back out of envy. They crucified Jesus because of envy. The chief priests, the scribes, they didn't like that somebody knew more than they knew. And somebody that was better than them because he was a sinless Son of God. They didn't like that, and they said, we're going to kill him out of envy. Right? They would literally sit there and look, that's the reason why they brought the Lord to Pilate, because they just were jealous of him. You know this is true. Have you ever seen somebody do this where it's kind of like you mention something good, you say something good about somebody, and they go, well, you do know this, and they just start bringing up something bad about the person.
Sorry, these aren't.
Oh, sorry, man, that is sad.
I know it is.
That is sad. but I will not complain because I need to lose some weight. Yeah. It's always impossible, right? You know the people like that. Here's what you need to do if someone does that to you. If someone is sitting there and they just start ragging on somebody, you need to look them square in the face and go, "You're so jealous. You're so jealous." Now wait and see the reaction. They're going to blow up on you. Okay? And after they blow up on you, just go, "It's all right, you did that. I still love you because I'm a Christian." Okay? And just see what they do. They'll probably blow up on you again. I'm just telling you, don't put up with that junk, right? I've caught my kids on that sometimes. They'll start saying something, and I'll go, "Listen, the problem is that person you're talking about, you think they're better than you, and you think they're getting more attention, and you're just jealous. And everything you're saying sounds pathetic. So stop." And they look at me and go, "What's pathetic?" So sometimes you got to define your terms when you're talking to your kids, right? I'm just telling you, they get envious. It's kind of like you tell someone something and then they just try to one-up you every time. There was a kid at school that would do that, and we just played games with that kid. We got to the point where we'd come tell him stuff we did that we didn't do just to see how he'd one-up us. And we'd make up places. "Yeah, we went to this cool place. It's in Florida, and it's basically just like this. It's a theme park with just all snakes. I mean, snakes are everywhere, and they're just snakes are all over you. You get to play with all these snakes. They even let you get bit by a poisonous snake and give you an anti-venom. We're just making this up." And they'll go, "Oh yeah, I've been there. Been there 3 times." It's just like, come on, you liar. That place doesn't even exist. He said, "Well, you're lying too." I get it, okay, but I wasn't saved. All right, so quit complaining. But you got the ungrateful people. Job said, and naked come out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Right? He was just happy. And even though something bad happened, and something the Lord has taught me is this. I had to learn this, but anytime I complain, I have to teach myself. I had to teach myself this. Anytime I complain, that I should immediately ask forgiveness and then ask God to let me think of 2 good things. 2 good things to thank Him for. Right? Because I shouldn't complain. And I should stop and say I'm sorry, but then I should tell Him some good things that I'm thankful for. So why is it serious? Well, because it says in Philippians 4:11, "Not that I speak in respect of what, for I've learned. And whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content." You've got to learn to do it. And, if you practice something over and over, you can do it. All right, you ready for this? You can learn to play the piano by practicing playing the piano. You can learn, you memorize lines to something by practicing it. Saying it over and over. You memorize a verse by saying it over and over. You can learn how to drive a car by doing it more and more, right? You can learn how to ride a bike. You can learn how to skateboard. You can learn how to do all these things. How do you do it? You just do it over and over and over and over again. You can learn to be content if you just be content over and over and over again. Right? And one thing you can do that will help you is this. If you're around complainers, if you're around murmurers, you need to limit your time with them. And sometimes you might even possibly need to combat their complaints so they'll keep their mouth shut around you. So they understand that you're not an ear they can talk to. I don't have time for anything like that in my life. I've got too much going on. And I don't have time for you to gripe with me. Right? I just don't. If there's a problem that you want to fix, let's talk about it and let's fix it. If not, let's move on. We got things to do. Right? There's a lot more we got going on than to sit here and gripe about something we're doing nothing about. Everyone, knows that practicing can do it, but the other part of it is, do you love the Lord enough to actually try to do it? Right? We got to be careful because you can complain and complain, but the truth is, if you're really honest about it, is it didn't help you, didn't do you any good. Right? How many of you are richer now because you complained you didn't have money? Okay, didn't really help. Probably doing something about it helped, right? Spend less or make more or shut up, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. The truth is, do all things without murmurings and disputings in the Bible. And I guess it's true, and I guess it's supposed to be followed. So, how are you going to be known? A thankful, godly person who serves the Lord, or a complainer? Never happy about anything. You know, there was a guy I worked with back when I was a janitor. Me and another guy named Reggie Branch were both janitors in high school together. We were both, 16 years old. And there was another janitor. And he was always complaining. And honestly, every time he came to see us, he complained. It was about something. And the truth is, it became funny to us. Because it was just sad how much he complained. Well, let's see what old Troy's going to complain about today. Right, so we'd be cleaning the cafeteria, and he'd come in there, and we'd go, "Hey, Troy, how's it going? It's a great, wonderful day." We were always overly optimistic on himself because we knew he was going to complain. So we tried to be so optimistic. So we're just me and Reggie, we're just saying all these good things. Man, the weather nice today. I'd look at Reggie and see what he says. And I mean, he would always be like, "Yeah, but it's a little humid," And I would be like, "Isn't it good that it rained? We needed some rain, it's been dry." And he'd go, "Yeah, but it's a little too wet." I mean, whatever we said, and literally, it was a joke to us. But the sad part is, this guy, he ended up living with his parents, and then his parents passed away, and he just was always sad. He was always mad about something, I don't know anything that he liked. I tried to think of one time, me and Reggie were like, "Does he like anything? Let's figure it out." And we asked him one time, because we see him every day. He made a point to grab us. One day, we asked him, we said, "Hey, Troy, you ever been in love?" And he's like, "Oh, don't get me started about love." And he had a girlfriend in high school that broke up with him. He hated women ever since. And I said, there's more than one woman in the world, Maybe somebody would like you. I can't imagine who. And, we would joke with him. We just had fun with him. But it honestly made us more optimistic just to know him. Because of but it was sad for him. And I want to tell you, you don't want to be that guy. So let's bow our heads, close your eyes. Lord, we just want to pray today and ask you to help us. What's the complaining help? Help us fix our hearts and stop griping and just start serving. We love you, Lord. Amen. All right. You're free from the torture.
We won't complain.
Yeah, don't complain. Well, I finally let you don't complain. Whew. So, are y'all leaving tomorrow?
Yeah, I just got back to Hot Springs.
But you're staying in an actual a house or something?
Yeah, like a cabin.